Welcome to Women of a Certain Stage, the podcast redefining how we think about menopause. I'm your host, Lauren Chiren, a passionate advocate for breaking the stigma and empowering individuals to navigate this transformational stage of life with confidence and clarity. Here, we're diving into a new era of menopause support, featuring expert advice, real-life stories, and actionable insights. Whether you're curious about building your personal menopause plan or you're looking to make an impact, you're in the right place. Let's embrace the change together. Alison, thank you so much for making time to hop onto the Women of a Certain Stage podcast today and have a chat. I would love, before we dive in, for you just to share a little bit about your background, who you are, what lights you up, just to give everyone that's listening and maybe watching a flavour of who you are.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for having me before we continue. But I am Alison, Alison Allen. My business is Sparks HR Consultancy Limited, and my background is HR and L&D. So I've got 25 years experience in HR and learning and development, and I suppose where my passion for raising awareness and supporting menopausal women began is probably different to some people, because many people go into this because they've had a terrible journey themselves and they want to prevent anybody else from going through that, or certainly to minimise their experience. But myself, I was on maternity leave with my son, who's now 21, and I was watching daytime TV, and there was two ladies on the programme, and they had both had quite high profile careers, and due to the menopausal symptoms, they lost their jobs. They either resigned or dismissed. I'm not sure how. But I remember at the time thinking, obviously with my HR hat on, thinking this isn't right. In 2003, we should not be having a situation where people are losing their careers and their livelihoods because of a natural transition that, all women are going to go through. So that started my passion for supporting menopausal women. And then when probably during the pandemic, I think it was more so really, I became even more, I think I had quite a few women that I was working with that were going through the menopause. So the passion, etc., sparked up again at that point. And then it became one of my objectives for the organisation I was working in for us to get to a point of being menopause friendly. So I did a lot of work. Sorry.
So at that point, were you working in corporate or were you working for yourself?
Yes, I was still in corporate then. So I spent the last couple of years in corporate, working hard, raising awareness through training sessions, through setting up support groups, ensuring that we had the correct policy or adequate policies in place, making sure that our comms were supportive of menopausal individuals, not forgetting, it's not, we think of women, but, including our transgender colleagues, non-binary colleagues, etc. So, from a corporate perspective, I was really involved in supporting these individuals. And then I opted to take redundancy I left in January 2023, set up on my own in February 2023, so 2 years ago. And at that point, I knew that this was something that I wanted to take into my own business as well. So to continue supporting other organisations with raising awareness, and also the individuals who were going through the menopause journey themselves.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. You've taken it from a very professional lens and kind of seen other people be impacted at work through a TV program back in 2003, which is early, right? So, I definitely, it was 2006 that I had my son, became menopausal straight away. And that was when I, started understanding the impacts of menopause, and that it can happen as early as 37 in my case, and actually a lot earlier, as we discovered on the Menopause Coach Diploma. So with with all your experience and with everything that you were picking up and delivering and learning and developing, you obviously had good strength and depth in your knowledge because you were delivering programs, you were creating comms, you were making sure that everything that was being done was menopause savvy, menopause supportive. So look, you've done a ton of work. You've got a really deep history and background in learning and development and human resources. You know your stuff. You've picked up the fact that very early, actually, before many people had even identified that menopause could be an impact to the workplace and an impact on people's careers, you already identified that back in 2003. Now, I was 2006 before I became menopausal at 37, and I was clueless that that's what I'd been through. It wasn't until a few years afterwards that I joined the dots with my doctor's help. So you've delivered programs, you've created comms, you've set up groups, you've done amazing work in other corporate organizations, and then you decided to do some additional training to support people through coaching. So tell me, what was it that made you decide to add coaching and become a menopause coach training onto what you already offered people?
Yeah, of course. So throughout my corporate career, and then since I set up on my own, I've been constantly adding to my knowledge through doing accreditations or through CPD events of various varieties. So I'm always looking for that next thing because there's so much to learn. You know, I might think I'm quite knowledgeable, but actually, when you look at everything, my knowledge is probably well, there's just so much more out there to learn, and I feel to be able to give the corporates and the individuals that I'm supporting that the support that they deserve, that I need to learn more and more, because like I said, there's so much out there. And when I saw a webinar advertised. It was actually my friend who sent it to me and said, this would be perfect for you. So I joined one of your webinars, and I came to it with quite open eyes because I thought, well, you know, I've already got the background that I've got. I've already got quite a depth of knowledge. I'm a qualified coach and mentor separately. But obviously I came along with quite open eyes. But then listening to that webinar, I was like, wow, I need to do this course. And yeah, it's absolutely surpassed all my initial expectations.
Oh, I get tingles when people say that. I mean, I poured my heart and soul and 11 solid years of learning about menopause into this, bringing the best experts that I've found, and obviously 35 plus years of human performance experience into all of this. And as you know, I love to coach people when they hit menopause, especially when they're in senior roles. But more and more of my time now is condensing my knowledge to share with other people, because I can only reach so many people doing this myself. And my goal, as you know, is to train 20,000 menopause coaches before I retire or die, whichever comes first. Um, but having you in the cohort was amazing because you were already qualified as a coach. You already had really good knowledge and experience about menopause in the workplace under your belt, and you still decided to go deeper, and you did learn more. And often I find, Alison, when I'm speaking to people, in fact, I spoke to someone this morning before we jumped on here to record. I spoke to someone this morning who goes, well, I'm already a coach. I did a apprentice coaching course 2 years ago. I've never coached since, but I did that course. So I don't need to come on your program. I just need to learn about menopause. And I was in the, like we all have different moods at different times of the day. And I was just in that kind of situation at the moment. I went, great, fine. And I thought, I thought, can I on a phone call actually do justice in 5 minutes or 6 minutes to the strength and depth of what's actually in the program? But I'm just curious, what would you say were 3 or 4 things that I could maybe have shared with her that have made her think actually a little bit more broadly? And I'm not suggesting she did need to come in the whole program, but I'm just curious about, what do you think the key things that you took away,
Well,
even though you were already a coach?
yeah, the knowledge, the depth of knowledge that I have received by completing these 18 weeks has been absolutely amazing. And obviously some of it was a recap from what I already knew, but I think when you listen to different people, you always pick up different aspects and elements that build on. For me, it built on the knowledge that I already had, and it gave me different ways of looking at things, different ways of positioning things with clients, and also enhanced my knowledge. And it made me realise that whilst people have said to me over the years, oh, you know so much about menopause, you know, you're so knowledgeable, I love listening to your sessions. But then it's made me go back to everything and add more into it. And I feel now that I'm in a much greater position to be able to support organisations, support individuals with that enhanced knowledge. And it's not necessarily that I will, you know, maybe intend to increase the content of the training as an example, but when I'm being asked questions, I've got a much greater depth of or richer knowledge to be able to share with people. But
do you think
I was just going to say, it's not just doing the 18 weeks. It's the fact that I've got that information now, so I've gone back and I've listened to things again, because listening to them again, you pick other things up. And in addition to the 18 weeks, you've got all the resources as well at your fingertips that it's just amazing. I haven't even got through all the resources yet. So come back to me in 6 months and I'll be saying even more amazing things.
And I think the reality is we're always keeping the library up to date, right? So as more research comes out, as more books are put out there, you know, we're adding to that, and we're bringing more expert sessions in and adding more bonus sessions into the portal as well. And I think for me, one of the things that I find is that a lot of your cohort, a lot of all the cohorts actually now, I'm noticing that the program itself is attracting lifelong learners. So the people that are coming in the program are doing multiple courses, are making sure that they're up to date, are really passionate about supporting other people as well. And I know one of the things that you did in the program was take 2 practice clients through the signature coaching program. But before we come on to the actual clients themselves and what they got out of it, I just wanted to ask you, as a coach, someone who's already qualified as a coach, what difference do you think it's going to make for you going forward in terms of how you approach coaching somebody going through menopause, having had that signature coaching framework available to you?
Well, the fact that there's a framework to follow, you know, that's massive, because it's not just coaching, it's coaching with, we're sharing information with those individuals as well. So whilst we're not advising, we're not taking it into beyond the realms of coaching, we are giving them something that they're taking away. And the light bulb moments that the learners have had, I've gone into some sessions thinking, you know, I'm not sure what they're going to take away from this, because, you know, like, for example, I've got one coachee who has done so much research on her own. She was in a really good place from a knowledge perspective when we started. So, but going into each of the coaching sessions, she comes out and she's like, you can see how much she's taken away from it. And each coachee takes something different away compared to what when I went through the program and we had other other participants from our cohort going through the program as well. You see the snippets that everybody takes something completely different away. So I think for me, it's yes, I understand coaching, I understand the grow model, I understand about reframing and asking people questions and allowing themselves to think of their own outcomes, but it's special because it takes it that one step further.
Yeah, and I think for me it was really fascinating because I had trained as a personal performance coach, an executive coach, a business coach. Then I trained as a transformational coach, a health coach, and a master coach, and did a number of other trainings in CBT and NLP as well. So the menopause plan is a blend of all of those things. What I found because when I was in corporate, I had an executive coach, and she was amazing. She was a clinical psychologist. She was superbly well qualified and had a huge brain. I mean, she was just amazing. And our coaching sessions, I always came away from them feeling great and with lots of plans of action on how I could tackle some of the challenges I was having. But it wasn't until after I identified that my experience was based on the fact I was going through menopause, and therefore, the questions she was asking me, because she didn't have that knowledge and background, meant that we were never really getting to the root cause of the problem. So whilst it was a good experience, and I always valued those 2 hours being out of the office, I have to admit, and I think she's an amazing coach, but because she didn't have any knowledge of menopause, I hadn't identified, so it wasn't like, I'm not, this is just like one of those things. So I wasn't aware that menopause could cause the amount of things that it can, as your experience of being an employee or a leader in a workplace. So yeah, so that's why I developed the menopause plan the way I have, because
Yeah.
they were the things that consistently were coming up for my
Yeah.
clients that were making a big difference going forward. So how do you see yourself using the coaching going forward?
So for me, I I really want to, well, I'm embracing that within my existing business model. So whilst I support SMEs with the HR needs and um, menopause training, so training leaders, training colleagues, as I said before, setting up support groups, etc. I see that it fits hand in hand with the work that I'm already doing, because whilst I'm offering the support to the corporates and the individuals within leadership roles or the colleagues, it's then taking the personal support, so I can then offer either one-to-one or group coaching programs within those organisations,
Hmm.
but also it could be private clients as
Hmm.
well, and whether it's one-to-one or group coaching sessions. So that's where I see this fitting in. But regardless of whether I'm training or I'm coaching, for me, the biggest impact has been the knowledge that I've received, and I'm also continuing to receive through all the information in the portal and the ongoing sessions following the program.
Yeah. So just thinking about the fact you've been a coach for a while now, and we're coaching long before we even met.
Mhm.
What's your preference? Is it to coach one to one, or is it to coach in groups?
I've predominantly done one-to-one coaching previously,
Yeah.
but I can see that this fits really well either.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, one of the things I love about the Menopause Coach Diploma is the community that
Mhm.
comes out of that. And I know that your cohort have continued to meet on a Friday afternoon, is that right?
Yes, I couldn't make Friday, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but we've got a WhatsApp group. They've got, I think it's every fortnight.
Hmm.
There's sessions in,
Yeah.
and then there's also the personal conversations that you're having with the friendships that you've made as well, and supporting each other. So
Hmm.
I am talking to there's one of the other um, participants, and we're talking about working together in the future. So
Hmm.
there will be all sorts of relationships like that formed. So yeah, it's brilliant.
I love that. I love, I mean, as each cohort unfolds, everyone goes on to do something slightly different. And your cohort has leapt straight from finishing the diploma program into fortnightly sessions to stay in touch, using that time that you've
Yeah,
already gotten used to ring fencing. So I absolutely adore that. I think that speaks to the strength of the relationships and the community that is so valuable that
yeah.
comes out of the course. But also, one of the things I've got in the pipeline, so hopefully by the time people are listening to this, it will be live, but I am looking at bringing all my coaches together and all my champions together so you can all learn from each other, because as I'm witnessing the different collaborations that are happening around the world, I can see the power in making sure all the
Mhm.
cohorts are meeting each other as well. So that's in the pipeline. More on that one
Exciting.
soon. So yeah, so if you look ahead to, the next 2 or 3 years, where would you like to see yourself in that type of time frame?
So from a business perspective, you know, HR is what I've done for years and years and years, and I hope to continue supporting organisations from a HR point of view. But I would love to have more of a. I would love to grow the menopause side of my business. So probably, whereas now I'm predominantly HR with some support regarding menopause, I'd like to flip that and be doing
Mm.
predominantly menopause support and HR to support that side of the business. So
Oh, I love that.
where I see myself is to continue working with corporates, raising awareness with leaders, with colleagues. And it always fascinates me the amount of colleagues that have come to the sessions over the years. And within the sessions, they've thought, oh, actually, that might be me. So it's those little, the impact that you can have by purely just doing a training session and then walking away is
Mhm.
is huge. But where I would love to get to is having ongoing relationships with these organisations. So blending my HR and menopause side to offer training, to then offer to set up the support groups and maybe do guest appearances at them every so often. From a HR point of view, to work with them to make sure that they've got a menopause policy, that their other policies are supportive of menopause, especially with Labour's plans to have menopause action plans for organisations over 250 employees, to work with those to get menopause action plans in place. And not necessarily wait for that change in legislation to come out, but to get them ready now. And I'm not sure why they've stopped at 250. It's best practice to work below that. So that would be my aim. And then, like I said, as well as offering to set up and support the menopause support groups, bring coaching into that. So if you've got within that organisation, you've got colleagues that are struggling, to offer them one-to-one coaching or the group coaching, however that would look. But like I said, to have an ongoing programme with that organisation is what I would absolutely, that's what I'm working towards, and I'm having a few conversations at the moment. I'm also looking, as I said, privately to support individuals with menopause coaching. I'm having a few conversations with individuals that I've met over the past couple of years to put together menopause wellness days, whether that's corporate or privately. I'm also creating a menopause journal to support individuals through their menopause journey, and if I say it, I've got to do
lots
it.
Lots of plans.
I'm in the process, a very slow process at the moment, of creating my own podcast. So now I've said it, I've got to do it.
Yay! Well, maybe I'll go. Can I be a guest?
Definitely, I'll be emailing.
I think the power comes in this space from everyone lifting each other and supporting each other. And often what I saw in the workplace when I was a leader in corporate was very much that it was a dog eat dog world and very masculine energy. I mean, I worked in financial services and insurance and very male dominated industries. Certainly there were when I was working in them. And it was very highly competitive, and you never wanted to give away your competitive advantage. But one of the things I love to do in this podcast is showcase everyone I work with, whether they're an expert or whether they're a graduate, whether they're a current student. If there's something I can do to help lift and support you to go and do your work, even though we're working the same space, working with the same type of clients, doing the same type of work, there's over 13.5 million people in the UK and many, many more around the world. What the numbers are saying, 1.2 billion women in menopause, and then our transgender, non-binary, and gender questioning, people as well. So there's plenty of work out there for us all to do. One of the things that I love on the Menopause Coach Diploma is, one, you're right, there's a ton of material, and I would be surprised if anyone gets through all of it because I'm always adding to it. So it's very difficult to make use of it, but there's enough there, hopefully, for people to dive into the areas that they particularly want to learn about in more detail. The other thing is that the way I've designed this hopefully gives you enough flexibility to work with individuals, organizations of any size, charge what's appropriate for your audience, and to being able to work in any geography as well. So you get the option of flexing the materials to suit and to blend in with what you already do. So you're not having to deliver it exactly as it's trained on, but then you take the essence of it so it becomes Alison friendly and suitable for your clients and the people you're working with as well. So if you were to say to someone that was sitting on the fence on the Menopause Coach program and they were thinking, should I do it, shouldn't I do it, and they want to do this work, what would your advice to them be?
Do it.
That was simple.
Yeah, I mean, I will speak to anybody that is sitting on the fence if you want them to speak to anybody and share my experience. But yet, the knowledge, like, I know I'm like a broken record, but the knowledge that I have learned by doing this and having that dedicated time to focus on my own development once a week has been huge, because it's made by actually going onto a program where you're on a live session every week. It makes you accountable that you do it. You were also it also makes you by having the coaching clients, and you've got a specified time limit to be able to get those coaching hours in, again, it makes you do it, because when you're running a business or you're in corporate, you put things off to tomorrow because your to-do list never ends and what have you. So the fact that you've got this dedicated time every week, and then you've got all the additional material as well that you can work through at your own pace, I think it's a no-brainer, really, especially for in the space of just over 4 months, 5 months, whatever, you can get to a point where you're going to be adding those skills and knowledge and diploma to your own, what's the word?
Kit bag?
Yeah. So just in just 5 months, you're going to be adding all those skills, the knowledge, the diploma to your kit bag. It's just, like I say, it's a no-brainer. I just say do it.
Yeah. I think you're really right. I mean, this podcast was 3 years in the making, and the number of times that I promised I was going to launch it, I even recorded a couple of sessions that are still sitting there, and I've had to go back around to the same people 3 years later and say, can we still release this? Is it still current? Thankfully, they said yes. And, you're right. I had to create a booking link and send that booking link out to people so that people booked it in my diary. And that meant I had the calls in my diary. I've got the equipment. I've got the team behind me to do all the shenanigans, whatever it is they do to make them podcast ready. And yeah, it was creating the booking link, having it in my diary, because once it was in the diary, I knew I would do it. And I think you're right, we do get so busy, and I don't know about you, but I will always I will always lean towards the things I love doing and enjoy doing before I do all the kind of day-to-day admin, which is not my strong point, which is why I have got great VAs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very good at just, defaulting to doing the teaching and the talking and all of that kind of stuff, and the rest of the business. If I didn't have to do it, I probably wouldn't.
Nope. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Alison, is there anything I haven't asked you about today that you'd like to share with anyone watching or listening?
I don't think so. I just, like I say, if anybody is sitting on the fence, then feel free to reach out to me, and I can talk through my experience. But I think it's been fantastic, and I'm excited about the future now, because I feel that I'd got to a point, whilst I was doing everything that I wanted to do and enjoying and loving raising the awareness of menopause and doing the training, etc., alongside my HR work. I feel that I got to a point where I was, within my business, I had a blend of HR work and supporting menopause in the workplace. I felt that I probably got to a point where I couldn't take it any further, because I was doing everything that I was doing. And whilst I felt at the time, I probably felt that I didn't know I could go further, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when I joined the webinar, and then we had a chat following that, and I realised how much more there was to learn, and the guest experts, etc., that were coming into the programme. It just excited me for the potential where I could take my business to. So, and as you said before, attracting lifelong learners, I'm always learning, doing something else. I feel that as soon as I've completed one course, I'm like, I'm not doing anything again. I'm just going to get my head down. But then I get itchy feet and I'm on to the next one. But, I just feel, like I say, I feel excited for the future now, because I feel that I've got so much more to give. And as you said, there's so many organisations out there that need this help and support. You've got managers who they probably shy away from conversations because they don't want to offend somebody or say the wrong thing, so they don't say anything at all, and then that makes the situation worse. So the colleagues aren't being supported. The organisation may find themselves on dicey grounds in a tribunal, and there's so much support that myself and the other graduates as well can give to these organisations and to these individuals, that I think the community that you've created is fantastic. And together, think of the work that we can all do. Like I say,
I agree.
I'm just excited for the future.
That just makes me tingle all over. I love that. And That's what it's all about. That's what gets me out of bed. That's what gets me showing up from 2 to 4 every Friday. And I know with your cohort specifically, I was always telling you how I look forward to my Friday
Yep.
afternoons. And I get emotional when we get to week 16, 17, 18. I actually start getting emotional because I know we're coming to the end of that formal training. We've obviously got another year's worth of time together. And to be fair, I'm still in touch with all my grads over the years. I just can't help it. So I'm really excited for your future. I can't wait to share this with everybody and for people to contact you and reach out, whether it is to book you, whether it is to ask you about the Menopause Coach Diploma. So all your details will be in the show notes below and all your contact details will be there. And Alison Allen, thank you so much for today.
And thank you.
Welcome to Women of a Certain Stage, the podcast redefining how we think about menopause. I'm your host, Lauren Chiren, a passionate advocate for breaking the stigma and empowering individuals to navigate this transformational stage of life with confidence and clarity. Here, we're diving into a new era of menopause support, featuring expert advice, real-life stories, and actionable insights. Whether you're curious about building your personal menopause plan or you're looking to make an impact, you're in the right place. Let's embrace the change together.